Yeah, so the play imagines that right as the piece of the Golden State 5 freeway is being finished and opens up for traffic, right as that's opening up, amidst all the protests that were going on at the time of people who didn't want the freeways to be there, um, there's two bodies found in Hollenbeck Lake in Boyle Heights. And so the audience comes in to question suspects and to figure out what happened. Basically, it's almost like you're getting sent into the precinct, into the questioning rooms, and you're getting to talk to the suspect, and you have to try and figure out who or how this happened. Hi, my name is Matthew Paul Olmos, and if you want to learn more about my new play, Underneath the Freeways of Los Angeles and the Echo Theater Company, watch this video. The idea really came before Chris actually asked me to do it. So when I've been back here like off and on the last few years, spending half my time basically in LA, half in New York. Since the pandemic, I've been out here full time. And as I've been here, I've been kind of rediscovering Los Angeles. So I'm originally from LA, but since I spent most of my adult life away, either going to college or going to grad school or just spending my time in New York, when I've been back in Los Angeles, I've been. How am I going to try this? So when I've been back in Los Angeles, it's almost been like exciting for me to revisit like places I went to as a kid, places where my family used to live, which was East L.A. And so I've been just had this kind of crazy curiosity about things that I knew a little bit about growing up, but I never really got into it because I was a kid mostly, So, whether it's the Chavez Ravine and Dodger Stadium, whether it's the freeways, and how they've been run through certain neighborhoods in Los Angeles, all that stuff has a weird just fascination, I guess, because I'm natively from here, but I haven't really spent time in a certain way because I've been gone for most of my life. So I was just dying and already researching the freeways, the Chavez Ravine thing on my own. And then Chris called me and he was like, hey, like, I really want to try something during the pandemic on Zoom, where we do like a criminal, like interrogation type play where the audience is sort of like the interrogators. That's right up my alley. And so I went and I thought of like several ideas that could have that sort of quality, that sort of interactive crime quality. And then basically lucky for me, like the one he really was drawn to was the one I probably wanted to do the most, which was this idea of if there was a crime as construction finished the freeway that runs Boyle Heights. Like it's weird. I kind of had like the topic I wanted to talk about already, and I was already working on it. And then Chris happened to call me in the middle of that. And I was able to marry the two. And now it's interesting because it's I don't know what I would have come up with if I didn't have the interactive element, because now I'm so married to the what I did create. So it felt like a nice what's the word, like serendipitous type thing where I was like, oh my god, this came at the perfect time. So they first are introduced for a sort of a storyteller or sort of narrator or guide through the experience. Her name is Ellie. Then they also meet Officer Banham, who is part of the investigation. Then they meet Mrs. K. Shimo, who's a local mother who lives nearby the park. They meet Dee Dee Echevarria, who is actually a young artist who found the bodies and reported it to the police. And then they meet Lucretia Jacobs, who is a very passionate protester of the freeways. And then they meet James Rouser, who works for the California Division of Highways. And then they meet a mysterious character named Efren, who's sort of a local wanderer, sort of like mystery guy who just hangs around. He's always out there the Boyle Heights, the cat of Boyle Heights, just seen everywhere all around town. Yeah, so the characters. So what's exciting to me about it theater-wise is that there's a script and there's things that all the characters know, and there's a actual text they memorize and have. But we don't really have a sense. We're not going to try and tell the audience exactly what to ask or exactly how to do this. We're actually rehearsing right now is throwing the actors sort of like curveballs and saying like, well, what if they ask this question? What if they just jump in with this? So like the live part is what's exciting to me is that like each character has their story and what they know to be true and what they want to say, but they have no idea what the audience is going to give them as a question. A lot of improvisation as well. We're hoping is that the really exciting parts are when like the audience is like, wait a second, because you're aware, so to really have those live moments where the audience can feel that it's not scripted. So the scripted and unscripted, so that the meaning of that is that really sort of the audience really feel like, oh, okay, I'm actually altering. It isn't just I say this and I say this, I say this, and it's a very like interactive sort of like live feeling. So the idea when the audience actually logs on for the evening, they'll be given some information by one of the characters about like, so here's how this is basically going to function, and it's going to say like you're going to be meeting with these certain people. And then these just maybe some of the things you want to like try and out of them. Where were they? What did they do about this? What time did they do this? And then basically the groups of audiences will be directed to different holding rooms where the different characters are at. They enter their exchange with that character. Once that one moves to the next one. So each group of audience members go to all the different rooms. Second half, they'll come back to the main room and then they'll be sort of guided through some more of the storytelling, and then they'll go back and have a re-question, come up, or even discuss amongst themselves. Like, actually, I want to hear more about that character. They said they were doing it that morning. Actually, then go back, re-question. Obviously, first I want it to be exciting, and then just like thematically, it's important to me to have stories that have sort of socio-political relevance. So I'm hoping, aside from the sort of who did it mystery sort of like engagement, that there is some sort of also about what this historical event of the freeways meant to Los Angeles and meant to people. So I'm hoping there's some themes in there that'll come out of it. I think it's an exciting thing that's been done on Zoom as far as theater goes, and I think also it'll be a cool way to look at how we were able to actually engage with each other, even though we're in this pandemic. But I also think especially anyone who, I would say LA specifically, but I think anyone living in any city, I think it's important to think about also like what the cost of progress has been versus the communities, whatever sort of city or large, bigger, small city, whatever it is. So I just think it's important to think about, because I think we often walk around our city or wherever it is we live, and we don't think often about the history that I think we walk around a lot, and we don't necessarily think about the history or how things got to be the way they are. I think it's an enlightening show as well, that people will be like, oh, I didn't know that about Los Angeles history. Hi, my name is Matthew Paul Olmos, and my play Underneath the Freeways of Los Angeles is playing at the Echo Theater Company. And if you enjoy this conversation, check out the interactive show at the Echo's website.